At portal door, it swings both ways. So let's see what Alabama's got potentially coming and going.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We'll talk about FanDuel in just a little bit. I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thanks, everybody, for making this your first listen every single day. Jimmy, there has been so much portal talk. As most of you know, I've been driving to Iowa, so I've done nothing but listen to sports talk stuff. And, I mean, everybody's talking portal.
Portal. You see that ball field where they did Field of Dreams?
They all look like the field where they did Field of Dreams.
Okay.
Iowa is just one big field of dreams.
I've never been there.
But they talked obviously a lot about Nico, and that's one thing. And then some people are like, it's a cautionary tale, and some others are like, well, I think it's just going to change the way some players use their leverage, et cetera, et cetera. But in the end, all I could think was, hey, who's Alabama got either entering or potentially pursuing? And, you know, there have been schools like Cal that have lost all 5 running backs to the portal or something nutty. I mean, Jaden Ott going to Oklahoma. There's just been a lot of movement. And my question is,
isn't Brian Harsin the new OC out there?
Yeah. He's doing just as well as you would imagine.
All of his players are transferring to Auburn.
It took, give Cal players credit. It didn't take them as long to figure it out.
He's that running back they lost to Oklahoma is a dude. Ott's
good. Now, he didn't have a good year last year. He was sort of banged up, but their leading rusher from last year also transferred. I can't remember where he went. But my question is, are any of these guys not necessarily Cal, but are any of them looking at Alabama?
Well, I think Alabama's got to look at them, too. And my prediction before the portal, and now that we're 24 hours or more into it, who knows? It could explode today as far as Alabama goes. But I predicted a very quiet portal window for Alabama, both coming and going. I don't believe. First of all, Alabama's under 85 for next fall. So there's not a number situation where Alabama's got to push anybody out or push anybody to the portal. Secondly, you sometimes push kids to the portal because of their problems, disciplinary problems. This is, to my knowledge, and I know we know a little bit about what's going on, a very well-behaved football team. I don't believe that there's a lot of issues or problems with the guys on the team. I think this is a mostly real good guy group. So I don't see Alabama pushing guys in. Now, who's going to leave? Generally, guys who are frustrated with where they are in the depth chart and they don't see a pathway to playing time. Well, Alabama could lose a couple of guys like that. And so far, 24 hours in, no one sprinted, like Forrest Gump level, sprint to the Rose Administration Building to put their name in the portal. No one sprinted there to do it. Now, it could happen. I expected it to happen. But also what I expect in terms of a guess, based on what I know, 2 or 3, maybe more, maybe not even 2 or 3 in terms of leaving. Now, what about coming in? Same thing. I know some fans get frustrated because they want a better player at this spot or this spot. I think Alabama's pretty satisfied with what they've got. Now, I know a lot of people are like, how could that possibly be? They think they're a national championship team. They're great at every spot. No, it's not that simple. Let's say you like a guy that you think is going to be a good starter. You could go to the portal and get a clear upgrade over what you have, but that is expensive. Guys that are in the portal that would certainly start over what Alabama's already got is going to be crazy expensive. Alabama hasn't changed their philosophy on anything as it relates to NIL and the portal. Alabama has spent a lot of their NIL money, and Alabama is a spender, on retaining their roster and keeping guys going to the NFL last January, and on high school recruiting because they signed the second or third best, high school class in the country last time around, and they're working on another top 5 class, coming in, and they're not going to overspend in the portal, and that's where you have your starters. So I don't think Alabama's going to be very active. Now, there could be a tight end. There could be a punter. There could be some depth at the line of scrimmage. But I don't see Alabama being a shopper or a seller compared to others in this portal. And again, we're 24 hours into it. That appears to be the way it's played out now. Obviously, things can change quickly in this college football world. Hey, you're either on mute or you're in Iowa.
No, I'm on mute.
There's much of a difference because
it doesn't matter what state I'm in. I'm on mute. But anyway, one of the other things that was brought up yesterday on a couple of shows that, okay, you talk about Nico and his leaving, and hey, I can't believe somebody didn't want to take a chance, and it looks like he may end up at UCLA now, and it'll be probably for less money.
that blows my mind.
And some people wondered, okay, well, I wonder if more kids will try this. And an analyst who was a guest on some show, I can't remember, mentioned, one thing I think that some coaches would be hesitant about, even if the kid is really good, you have to factor in, oh, he just abandoned his other team after spring practice. Not only that, you have to take into account, I'm kind of abandoning some of my players after spring practice. I'm telling some of them, if you're bringing in a stone cold starter, I'm telling some of them, hey, you're not as good as I need you to be right after spring practice. And there's no guarantee I get this guy. That's
Right.
The other thing is, if he doesn't have a do not contact, but let's just say, look, if Jeremiah Smith or Ryan Williams gets in the portal, that's one thing. I think everybody go, okay, nobody in the country is as good as those two receivers.
Right.
But if, let's say a solid, if not mildly spectacular, I know that's sort of an oxymoron, wide receiver got in the portal, then all of a sudden you're like, okay, what did Barion Brown? Let's talk about him. That a guy I loved.
He was in the portal.
He's at LSU now. He
And
was
he
in
the portal.
But I'm saying, let's say he got in the portal after Kentucky spring versus when he did.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I think you're like, he's really good.
Hmm.
But there are other factors at play here.
Yeah.
And that's where some of this may self-govern itself.
That's a great example of why Alabama doesn't shop in the portal right there. I mean, in terms of, is Barion Brown good enough to play at Alabama? Oh, heck yes. Would he be a top 3 receiver at Alabama? I'm sure. Oh, heck yes.
Wait a minute. Hold it for a second. I want to stop you. Are we sure Barion Brown's better than, forget Ryan Williams, are we sure he's better than Jeremy Bernard and Isaiah Horton?
Probably, but if so, arguably. Like you're saying, it's close.
It's a gamble.
Therefore, Alabama wouldn't. Why would we spend more on him than probably anyone else in that wide receiver room, including Ryan? Because that's what it would take to get a kid like him, more than you're paying a Ryan, certainly more than you're paying Jeremy and Zay. And it just makes no sense for an Alabama to do that. And I think that's a great example of why you're not seeing Alabama in the portal going to get guys, because they're satisfied with who they got, and bringing in somebody is a little problematic where you're already pretty good with what you got. And Alabama is pretty good with what they got at virtually all the positions. Now, there are a couple that we could nitpick, and I think tight end is one, to be honest. I mean, Danny Lewis and Josh Cuevas are the anticipated starters at tight end at Y and H this fall, and neither one of them have been a Power 4 starter. They've both played with the ones in their career, and they've both been promising, but neither have played. Danny Lewis was out the entirety of the spring. Tight end is a spot where I could see Alabama being a little aggressive for the right guy. But at the same time, you recruited Danny Lewis back out of the portal. You only did that for one reason. You're our guy. Yeah. Don't leave. You're our guy. I'm not sure you want to now just send him the message. Oh, well, I mean, you're our guy, but you're going to share the spot with somebody else. I don't even know that Alabama will go get a tight end. I do think people are like, gosh, they only had one. The depth is terrible. Well, the depth is terrible because of a little bad luck. I mean, Cuevas got banged up during the spring. Marshall Pritchett got banged up during the spring. You didn't have Caleb Edwards yet, the freshman. He arrives this summer. Jay Lindsey did a really good job holding the fort down on his own. You've probably advanced Jay Lindsey's development. He's going to be a good player. In my opinion, Jay Lindsey's a future starter at Alabama. And of course, you got Danny Lewis coming off the injury. He's expected to be 100% this fall. So you got 5 guys. You've got a walk-on and Peter Knudsen, who could probably give you some snaps as a blocker. A big-bodied transfer from Weber State. He's a walk-on, but he's played college football, and he looked okay this spring. So I'm not even convinced they're getting a tight end, and that's the spot where I think they're most likely to get someone.
Let's start a little Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts ready to help take your business to that next level. Upwork gives all businesses, flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, multiple qualified candidates will be there for you to choose from. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today.
Upwork's new. That sounds fantastic. I'm not a BOL anymore. Might have to dial up Upwork.com.
Yeah, I'm CEO of Downwork. You want your business to fail?
Downwork.
I'm your guy. All right, let's talk about potential defensive line guys that are out there for Alabama. I know BLL did a little story on the DL board for Alabama. And, of course, you already got commitments from Jamarion Matthews and Mhari Johnson. Those are 2 guys that they already have commitments from, and that's great. That's a good start. And Mhari Johnson, by the way, he's only a 3-star. He's going to move up the charts. There's no doubt in my mind. He's been doing really well on the summer circuit. There are some guys that have some dates, and I'll read them out and then let you talk about them, whoever you feel froggiest about. There's Nolan Wilson from Picayune, Mississippi. This is
by saying dates, you mean these are guys that have scheduled official visits. It's already public that they're coming on an official visit to Alabama this summer, right?
Correct. Or they already have official visits, but they've also been to Tuscaloosa potentially, some of them. But Nolan Wilson out of Mississippi, Titan Davis from St. Louis, Alabama made a big impression on this kid. Elijah Golden, who has been to Tuscaloosa more than Walt Maddox recently. JJ Finch, he's a 3-star from Indianapolis. Tyson Bacon, who's a 3-star from Hoover. Now, he's a Tennessee commitment, though, so it's not like he's a nobody.
But he's visited Alabama even after the UT commitment.
Then there's Emmanuel Ruffin from Bessemer City, Alabama. So it's not like they're all these super high-rated 5-stars that are on the list, but that's a pretty solid list.
It really is. And particularly the fact it's got to start with this. You've already got 2, and you like the 2. And Jamarion Matthews, who is ranked fairly high as is, and Mhari Johnson, who's going to be a riser. But probably not a guy that's going to rank crazy high. But he's going to move up. Everybody needs to focus on this. In this scheme, there's only 3 defensive linemen. There's not 4. There's 3 defensive linemen. Freddie Roach coaches the defensive line. He's responsible for 3 positions that are on the field. So how many guys are you going to sign in a class when there's only 3? There's only room for 3 starters, right? Where you're like, okay, minimum 3. I agree. You need to sign 3 every year. I think every year you need to bring in at least 3. because that's how many you play, on the field. So you need 3. If you didn't sign a lot the year before, you might need to oversign a little bit to correct numbers if you didn't get as many last year as you wanted. And is it a good year? You don't want to say, well, we would like to sign 6, but then guys number 5 and 6 just aren't very good players. You're just trying to fill out the group. That doesn't help you, particularly in the transfer portal age when you go get somebody in the portal if you need to. But I think, ultimately what I'm looking for here is what's the number. To me, Luke, it's 5. That's Jimmy's guess in terms of like the ideal number of defensive linemen in this class. I think it's 5. And 4 is okay. 6 is ridiculous. Don't bring in 6. I mean, all you're going to do when you bring in 6 is you're just guaranteeing that 2 or 3 of them are going to leave because it's going to be too crowded. It's going to be too crowded in their group. So I think 5 would be a great number, and you've already got 2. So you want to add 3. And of that group you just named, I think the 3 most likely guys, and it's very realistic on all 3, Titan Davis from Missouri, Elijah Golden from Sarasota, and J.J. Finch from Indianapolis. And I think that all 3, I'm not saying they're leans. I'm just saying if I was projecting an Alabama class right now, I would probably project all 3, realizing that I'm not with a massive confidence number. I mean, not 90% sure, but I would say 50% sure on all 3. Finch, Titan Davis, and Elijah Golden, all 3 blue chip defensive linemen or better. Titan Davis probably more in the elite category. It would be a great haul if you add those 3 to what you've already got in Matthews and Johnson. And that would be, I wouldn't say one of the great Alabama defensive line hauls of all time. Of course it's not. That's going to be very difficult to do in the NIL era because defensive linemen are probably the second most expensive group behind quarterback. But that would be a really good group. Almost no one would have a better 5-man group. Probably no one. If anybody does, it would be a short list.
Yeah, that would be, and look, that would also give a little pushback to some of the masses that are screaming for more defensive line commits. Look, I want them too, but I also feel like we've got. Look, let's let Kalen DeBoer and company cook a little bit and see exactly what their recruiting strategy is. We had a good feel for Saban's recruiting strategy. That was, are you really good? Okay, I'm going to go get you. And then, you committed somewhere else. I'm still going to go get you. Kalen DeBoer may be a little different. He may not go get, 20 of the top 50 players in the country, but he's a really good coach. And I'm not trying to compare him to Saban's recruiting. Saban's the greatest recruiter of all time. So I'm just saying, let's see how he does, because while that list that I mentioned, the defensive line list, is not the most awe-inspiring we've ever seen, I do like the guys we have committed a lot. And I also think that some of the guys that I mentioned, the Nolan Wilson out of Picayune and Titan Davis in particular, those two, even Tyson Bacon, I'm super intrigued by him.
Yeah, I didn't mean to blow off Bacon and Ruffin, the in-state guys, who I think are good players. They're SEC football players, and they're, I don't want to call them fallback. They're too good to be called fallback positions. They're not fallback positions. They're guys you would take. I just like where Alabama sits with those other 3 right now. But Bacon and Ruffin are highly possible at Alabama and would be positive assets. And as far as comparing DeBoer to Saban's recruiting, I know this. If look at DeBoer's, he signed 1 class at Alabama, the last class. That's 100% Courtney Morgan and Kalen DeBoer. Had they not been hired and Nick Saban stayed, I don't know that. I'm sure the class would have looked a little different, but in my opinion, it would have ranked no higher. Saban wouldn't have done any better. Not in the NIL era. It's a completely different landscape than it was. Saban was getting a taste of it when he was leaving. But I don't think Nick Saban would have signed a class that's any better than the class that DeBoer and Courtney Morgan signed a year ago. And it's different. It's harder to do. It's impossible to sign that dominant number 1 class that's so much better than everyone else unless you're recruiting with a checkbook, Elon Musk style. I mean, that's the only way to really do that. And Alabama's not going to do that. I think no other program will consistently do it. I think some programs will get desperate and do it in a 1-year period. But I say all that and forget to mention that NIL is supposedly changing for 2025 and 2026. Starting this fall, it's supposed to change, and everyone being a little more uniform and with guardrails and no one spending excessively more than others. That's the way it's supposed to be starting this fall. I'm doubtful and cynical that's actually going to be the case, but that's the design of the House settlement, which should come into law this fall, that NIL is going to be a far more regulated apparatus.
Ooh, apparatus.
Well, the gymnastics team is playing in the national championships today, so
I don't know that we've ever used that word.
Thought I'd use that gymnastics term on the day of the national championships.
The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action right now. When you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy. Whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props, from three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a big chance to win. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. That's FanDuel.com. You know, I'm sitting here in this, what did I just click on? Sitting here clicking in this Marriott courtyard on my way back to Alabama, and they have this like little fluorescent light or whatever underneath this right behind. And I'm a tan guy. I mean, I'm kind of tan. I've always been tan. I grew up on a lake, go to the beach a lot, whatever. I'm tan. And this makes me look so white. I mean, I feel like I ought to be eating a green bean casserole and watching Gilmore Girls. I'm so white right now. I mean, it is
those things make you white.
I've ever looked.
I'm sure Gilmore Girls has a largely white audience. I'm quite certain. But green bean casserole. Okay.
I don't know. Gilmore Girls, it had those two like kind of
I'll be honest, I've never seen
girls, right? I mean, like
honestly, I've never seen it.
I'm not sure they're hot. Then you're like, oh, they're kind of hot.
I watch a lot of TV, but I'm not.
Should I have said Friends?
That's a good one. That's a good one. Thanks. Kind of, especially a little dated reference. I know, and I don't even know if anybody. Are there people that listen to our show that are so young they've never seen Friends?
No, because it's on TNT or TBS like constantly now.
Of course, a lot of young kids these days with the streaming, they're like, "What the hell is TBS?"
By the way, speaking of CBS Sports, they came out with their top 150 players or something like that in 2025. And it's interesting.
Yep.
Number one was Jeremiah Smith. I can't dispute that. I mean, we love Ryan Williams as a Ryan Williams podcast. Jeremiah Smith had a better year. And he won the national championship. What do you want me to do? So
I don't dispute that he's the most talented kid. As a matter of fact, I mean, quarterbacks aside, in the next draft, which he's not even eligible to be in, he would be the number one pick. Probably, quarterbacks aside.
I don't think there's any doubt. And again, it doesn't mean we don't love Ryan Williams. I'm not trading because I love the prospects of what Ryan Williams can do are nuts. But what Jeremiah Smith has already done is nuts. Now, what I was going to say is interesting. Okay, he's one, and I think universally we can all settle on that. They have Lenoris Sellers at 3, Garrett Nussmeier at 4, Dylan Stewart at South Carolina 6, Caleb Downs at Ohio State. Now, we don't play them, but he was at Alabama at number 7, TJ Parker from Alabama at number 9, and then Ryan Williams at 10. I'm going to tell you this. I don't think some of those players are better than Ryan Williams, but I get why they rank them there based on what you've seen to date.
The kid may make me eat my hat, but I am not the Lenoris Sellers guy to that extreme. Now, keep in mind, I was sort of first on the Lenoris Sellers train, but I never promised greatness or a Heisman or a top 5 pick in the draft. I mean, to me, Lenora Sellers reminds me a lot of Jalen Milroe, and I mean it as a compliment to both kids. But to me, Lenoris he's about to embark on a 2023 Jalen Milroe type season, and I think he's a Milroe type player. And so I think there'll be a lot of jaw-dropping moments and a lot of, you better lace him up to play South Carolina because the quarterback could cause you a lot of problems. But is he going to be great every single week? I don't see that. I mean, I don't. And if I'm wrong, hey, I'll be first to shake his hand and welcome him to shaking Goodell's hand on the stage at the NFL. But I don't even rank. I would put Nussmeier ahead of Sellers, and frankly, I mean, I could really end up with the egg on my face. I think the best quarterback in the league is going to be Arch Manning, but and not Sellers, not Nussmeier. But I'm with you, Luke. I think your major point is how are some of these guys ahead of Ryan Williams? I agree. I'm a big Nussmeier fan, but I wouldn't rank him ahead of Ryan Williams in terms of, who's really good at their position. I mean, obviously, quarterbacks are very impactful on the outcome of games, more so than one wide receiver is. But I would rank Ryan ahead of those guys. And frankly, I would have Caleb Downs 2 and Dylan Stewart 3. That's how I would rank.
They had 2. Let me go back to 2. They had Cade Klubnik at 2, and I'm like, are we sure Cade Klubnik's even better than Nussmeier? I mean, but
they're about the same guy to me. They're about the same guy to me. They're both really good. They could both end up in New York if their teams win big. I mean, if LSU's a top 5 team, if Clemson's a top 5 team, then you're going to see Nussmeier and Klubnik around the Heisman finalist candidates. But are they great college football players? I'm a little hesitant to say that for either one of them. Again, the only quarterback, again, that I'm like, just, drop my jaw over how great I think he's going to be is Arch.
Then they have Peter Woods, of course, another defensive lineman at Clemson from Alabama. They have him at 14. I'm not going to go through every.
Isn't it crazy that TJ Parker's ahead of him and that people consider TJ Parker more impactful because they were in the same recruiting class from Alabama from Alabama.
No, they weren't on the same team. My bad.
Parker was at Central Phoenix City, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But Alabama wasn't too involved with him. I think Alabama had some schematic fit issues with him that probably they might have underrated or undervalued TJ Parker a bit.
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
But I think it was a schematic fit thing with them in terms of in Saban's scheme. I mean, what position would that guy have fit? Now, some guys are just so freaking good that you're like, well, you make him fit. Yep. And I think he's proved to be that guy. You make him fit. Heck, you change what you do to get him on the field. He's been a revelation. But him being ranked above Peter Woods is something for us in-state recruiting fans.
All right, I'm going to zoom through a few of them. Keldrick Falk, 17. Trying to find the next Bammer here.
That seems high to me. Good player, but
I think he's a great player. I thought the same thing. Auburn people thought he was low. Obviously, I think
top 20 in the nation.
I don't think he's number 17 player in the country. Caden Proctor at number 24. I get it, but I'm going to say this. I think Caden Proctor he won't finish at 24. He'll finish in the top 10 or he'll be number 100 to 150. He's going to either have a significant drop or a significant rise. There's no doubt in my mind it's doing one of those two things.
I like it. I can make the case that Proctor should be ranked there or higher, but I would completely also understand if he was in the 50s or 60s because I think to this point, he hasn't played good enough to justify that ranking. I also think that's a fair projection of where he might be this fall now that we're finally, for the first time, going to see a Caden Proctor who is in shape, healthy, and experienced. We've never seen that Caden Proctor before. In shape, healthy, and experienced. That guy has not played a down of college football, but he will this fall. And something tells me he's going to be really good now that he's got all 3 of those things lined up.
How about this? They have Aaron Anderson the transfer from Bama to LSU at number 48. I was like, okay, 50. And again, let me run through these because I do want to mention SEC Media Day since I put it on the thing. 52 is Parker Brailsford. I want to find the one that
He
really
should
was
be
like,
higher. He might be the best center in college football.
I totally agree. He also gets devalued because he's a center, which is dumb because a center is, I mean, a center is really important. They have Damani Jackson at 89. I want to get the one that really sort of stood out to me. By the way,
that's too low.
Yeah, I think that's a little low, but that's, again, we're Bammers. Here's the one that people probably scream from the rooftops, and I think it's either on point or he'll be higher. Guess who they have at 103? Quick guess.
Cam Calhoun.
Isaiah Horton.
Really?
Over Jeremy Bernard, who I don't see on here. They have Jaden Roberts at 105. Maybe I missed him. Yeah, they do him. They went 119. Jeremy Bernard.
Watching practice at A-Day and seeing what I've seen this spring, ranking Horton ahead of Bernard is not crazy.
Now,
I'm not sure I would based on production to date.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying it's not crazy. Though people out listening out there think that might be crazy based on what y'all know. But if y'all didn't see the spring or weren't at A-Day, or ranking Horton ahead of Bernard is not crazy.
How this one's low, and I think it's universally people would say this. LT Overton at 128.
Well, again, I think we're going to see an LT Overton this fall that we've never seen before. And last year's LT Overton led the nation in quarterback pressures. He was certainly up there in the argument, and his win rate at the line of scrimmage, I think that's ridiculously low. But hey, I'm fine with LT Overton being a big surprise to people this fall. I think he's going to have. I want to be realistic. I'm going to say 8 sacks, but I wanted to say more.
Okay,
I wanted to say more.
Finally, SEC Media Days, the schedule has come out, and we know when Kalen DeBoer will be speaking, and I'm going to look up his list.
Wednesday, July 16th, I think is that's just off the top of my head. If I missed that,
it's not the sexiest list because, and really the list is devalued just because Jeff Lebby's on it with Mississippi State. But and I don't mean that as a shot at Jeff Lebby. I mean it as like, you know, the Mississippi State guy, unless it's the Pirate or unless it's somebody that, I guess Dan Mullen was intriguing at times, but you know, for the most part, Mississippi State guys.
That program's not generating a lot of excitement right now. That program's not generating a lot of excitement right now. I think that here's my guess, and boy, this could be wrong. My guess is that's a program that's struggling in the NIL era compared to their SEC brethren. I mean, I think it's a struggle for them to compete with their SEC brethren. Now, with the rest of the nation, with the ACC and the Big 12 and even some of the Big 10, I think Mississippi State's a winner in the NIL world. But, gosh, they got to compete against Alabama, LSU, Tennessee, and Georgia for players.
Yeah.
In the NIL era, that's been tough for them. So,
all right, that's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.